الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we continue with our Ramadan series, building resilience in the month of Ramadan through the dua of the prophets in the Quran. Alhamdulillah, today marks day number 14 from the month of Ramadan. All right, so that means that we are basically 2 weeks into Ramadan, basically halfway through. That means that 6 days from now, we will be at the last 10 nights of Ramadan, very quickly. How fast has time gone by? All right, as Hasan, one of the scholars of the past, he said, يَا بْنَ آدَمْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ أَيَّامٍ إِذَا ذَهَبَ يَوْمٌ ذَهَبَ بَعْضُ. O child of Adam, indeed you are mere numbered days, or today is the 15th of Ramadan. All right, we are mere numbered days. You are numbered days. Your life as a human being consists of just days. And every time a day goes by, a part of you has gone by. So that means in 5 days, we will be at the last 10 nights of Ramadan. SubhanAllah, how fast does time fly? Actually, today is the 14th, and tonight is the 15th night. So today is the 14th day. Tonight is the 15th night of Ramadan. So that means that we're 2 weeks into the month of Ramadan, halfway through, and we're almost done. In a few days, we'll be arriving at the last 10 nights. And of course, this is the time for Muslims to get even more serious about fasting. This is the time to start seeking out Laylatul Qadr, seeking the night of power. And inshallah ta'ala, as we move closer and closer to those days, inshallah ta'ala, I will do a lecture related to that. I wanted to start a little early tonight. Usually we start around 7:15, 7:20, but it is 6:45 right now. And I wanted to start a little early because the subject matter that we're going to touch on today is very profound. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to address it in its totality. So we've arrived at dua number 14, all right? And as every day we kind of reiterate, the du'as that we've covered in the past. We've covered the du'a of Adam, Yusuf, Ayub, Ibrahim, Musa, Yunus, Zakaria, Al-Rasikhuna fil ilm, Ya'qub, the believers, Ribbiyun. We covered the du'a of Ibadur Rahman, right? Ibadur Rahman. And tonight, we're going to cover the dua of Prophet Sulayman. Prophet Sulayman, the son of Prophet Dawood. And as I walk you through, our lecture tonight, I want you, for those of you who are sitting at home, you have access to the Quran. Pull out your English or your Arabic Quran. And as we go through the ayats, inshallah ta'ala, I want you to be able to mark off these different places so that when you open the English translation of the Quran, you have these dua marked off. That would actually be very smart, all right, for those of you who have an English translation of the Quran, to take the little post-it notes and you can kind of rip them into little pieces. And so every dua that we've covered, every place that we've covered, you have that marked in your Quran. You have it marked in your Quran, so you never have to search for it. You look at your little markers, you look at your little post-it notes, and those notes will tell you at the top of your post-it note, you can write the name of the prophet, so that if you are ever looking for the dua of that particular prophet, all you got to do is look at your post-it note. It says Ibrahim. You flip right to that page. The dua of Ibrahim is right there. You write Prophet Musa at the top of your little paper, your little post-it note, and you flip to the page, and the dua of Prophet Musa is right there, all right? So that you always have a constant relationship with these dua. I'm not covering these dua in Ramadan so that we could say, MashaAllah, the class in Ramadan was very good. No, I want you to be able to reference these dua. Reference each one of the duas that we've covered has a story behind it. There's a story behind it, and I'm sure that out of all of the dua that we've covered so far, and we've only scratched the tip of the iceberg. We've only scratched the surface. And I'm sure out of all of the dua that we've covered thus far, every single one of us here can identify and relate to the story or the dua of each and every one of the dua that we've covered so far. Whether it is a particular prophet and his particular circumstance or situation. Some of us may be having failing health, and you can identify with the dua of Prophet Ayub. Some of us are drowning in our own mistakes and sins, and you can identify with the dua of Prophet Yunus. Some of us are, reflective over our own selves and our own weaknesses, and we realize that we need the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if He doesn't help us, we'll lose, and that is the dua of Prophet Adam. Some of us are in severe pain, emotional trauma, and we realize that we can't turn to anybody but Allah, and you identify with the dua of Prophet Yaqub. All right, it doesn't matter what prophet, what situation, man. I'm sure I can relate to every single one of these prophets and messengers and every dua that they've made. There's not a point in time in my life where one or more of these situations was not happening to me personally. You understand? There's not a time in my life that one of the situations of these prophets and messengers that we've covered has not happened to me in my own personal life. And since I've been a Muslim, walillahi alhamd, there has not been a time that I have not made at least one of these dua prior to us having these discussions. I'm a stickler for, supplications for dua. Anyone who knows me personally knows that dua, dhikr, these things are very, very important to me. All right? The backstories, yes, very important. The backstories behind these supplications are extremely important. And the backstory tonight, if you thought that the supplications we covered before were profound, wait till you hear this one here. All right, so we're talking about Prophet Sulayman, alayhi salam. And the dua that we're going to cover tonight from Prophet Sulayman, and there's only two dua from Prophet Sulayman that are mentioned in the Quran. One of which he was asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for dominion and, authority the like of which Allah would never grant to anyone else. And the other one is the one that we're going to cover tonight. All right. So the dua that Prophet Sulayman made, I'm going to give you the backstory here, is as a result of his reflection of the innumerous bounties and blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to him and his family. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Prophet Sulayman and his family, meaning his father, Dawood, his mother, and the rest of his family, had bestowed upon them so many blessings. And the dua that Prophet Sulayman that we're going to cover tonight was as a result. Sometimes it takes a situation to stare, be right in front of us for us to stop for a moment and just think about how blessed we really are. How favored we really are. How blessed we really are. Wallah al-Azim, I was leaving out of the masjid last night. Put my family in the car. I pulled out into the street. I made a right going down to the light. There was an ambulance in front of me. The ambulance didn't have its lights on, so it just looked like a regular ambulance, like nobody was in it. When we pulled behind the ambulance, right, there was a light on in the back of the ambulance. There was an old guy that was in the back of the ambulance, and I'm sitting at the light, and of course there's a window in the back of the ambulance so you can see directly into it. And I said to myself as I'm watching this man laying in the back of the ambulance, I said, wow. I turned to my wife, I said, wow, he's on his way to the hospital and we're on our way home. Here, this guy, they may have just went to his house and picked him up. He's on his way to the hospital, maybe to the emergency room, maybe to wherever. while we're on our way home to go eat and go to sleep and, sitting from a place of privilege. And the scholars, they have a statement, a phrase, a shay bishay yudhkar. A shay bishay yudhkar. Sometimes when one thing resembles another, it reminds you of something that you have been neglectful of. Sometimes you see a situation and it reminds you of something else. You understand? You see a situation and it brings home the reality of something else that maybe you had been negligent of. Maybe you had been, reminiscent of. It's important for us, to be reflective. All right. And the dua that Prophet Sulayman made that we're going to cover tonight was as a result of his reflection on the bounties and blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him and his family, that was ignited by the statement of an ant. Prophet Sulayman was given, from the many gifts that Allah gave him, was the ability to communicate with animals. Wallah al-Azim, if you could communicate with animals, that would open up a whole nother realm of understanding of life in the world. Because animals, they have a whole entirely different experience with the world that we live on than we do. Here are these animals, these rodents, these creatures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, right, for reasons that are beyond what many of us could even understand, right? These animals are going to be destroyed Yawm al-Qiyamah. Animals are not going to be held accountable. Animals are not going to be punished, right? Animals were created for our benefit, right? Subjected to our use, for the many uses that we have them for in this life. You understand? And could you imagine what communicating with the birds would be like? The birds, they see the world from above. We walk on the earth. We're talking about creatures who see the world. Most of their time is spent in the air, flying, seeing the world from, a bird's eye view, as we say. Could you imagine what communicating with ants? These are the hardest working creatures on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's green earth. Could you imagine the story, the narrative that an ant would have? If you could sit down and have a community, that would probably be a real conversation. Human beings, everything is so pretentious, right? You can probably squeeze, an honest conversation out of 1,000 people. You understand? An animal is going to give you nothing but genuine conversation. And Prophet Sulayman had been given the ability to communicate with animals, namely ants, birds, and many other animals. He also had been given the ability to communicate with the jinn as well. And we'll talk about some of the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him. But Prophet Sulayman's reflection on the bounties of Allah was ignited by a comment that was made by an ant that he heard miles away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Prophet Sulayman's hearing so finite, so, intense, that he was able to hear the conversation of ants miles away. Some of the scholars of tafsir said the comment that this ant made was, he was 3 miles away from where Sulayman was, and he heard the whole conversation. But it's amazing how something so small, so insignificant, could ignite such a profound thought process. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَحُشِرَ لِسُلَيْمَانَ جُنُودُهُ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ وَالطَّيْرِ فَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we gathered for Sulayman were his soldiers from amongst the jinn and from amongst the men and birds, marching in rows. So here is Sulayman marching with his army from amongst the jinn, from amongst the men, and the birds. He had been given the authority to command the animals, right? We have to train an animal for years in order to get them to do this or to do that. Prophet Sulayman alayhi salam, one of the miracles Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him was authority and control. He wasn't just the imam. He wasn't just the prophet of the human beings. He was the prophet of the jinn. He was the prophet of animals as well. They adhered to his command. Not to mention that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was also the prophet of the jinn and men as well. The whole Surah Al-Rahman, Surah number 55 in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing al-Thaqalain. Al-Thaqalain meaning jinn and man. Meaning Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the prophet of jinn and men. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَحُشِّرَ لِسُلَيْمَانَ جُنُودُهُ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ وَالطَّيْرِ فَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we gathered for Sulayman were his soldiers from amongst the jinn and from amongst men and from amongst the birds, marching forth in rows. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, stay with me, follow me, because this is important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, حَتَّى إِذَا أَتَوْا عَلَى وَادِ النَّمْلِ, until Sulayman came across a valley of ants. He came across a valley. He was approaching a valley of ants. حَتَّى إِذَا أَتَوْا عَلَى وَادِ النَّمْلِ قَالَتْ نَمْلَةُ أَيُّهَا النَّمْلِ ادْخُلُوا مَسَاكِنَكُمْ لا يحتمنكم سليمان وجنوده وهم لا يشعرون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captured out of the entire story of Sulayman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captured bits and pieces of his narrative, of his entire life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captured just bits and pieces of his story and put it in the Quran. You have to think, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of a whole life of a prophet, but we only have snippets of that prophet's life in the Quran, then that means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hand selected from that prophet's story, from that prophet's narrative, what would be in the Quran that would be recited until Yawm al-Qiyamah. You understand? Sister Rhoda, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you. Whatever you're going through of a hard time, of a difficult time, and we all go through different difficult periods in our lives, some more than others, some less than others. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for you. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahlan. Oh Allah, there's no ease except in what you have made easy. Wa anta taj'alu al-hazana idha ma shi'ta sahla. And you can make anything, if you will, easy. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes your affairs easy. Whatever it is you are going through, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestow upon you ease. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears your cries and responds to your supplications. That's the best dua that a person can make for you, is that Allah responds to your dua. Because I'm sure that you're supplicating. I'm sure that you're calling on Him. And I'm sure at times you feel like He doesn't hear you, He doesn't see you, He's not responding. So I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to your dua. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitates ease in whatever situation that you are going through. And indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a sami'ud dua. Allah is the hearer of all supplications. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, so when you think about the snippets of these prophets' stories that are mentioned in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them for reasons. There's reasons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put these snippets. Why this section of Sulayman's story? Why not something else? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose to put this portion of Sulayman's story in the Quran instead of something else? Because there's something profound in this portion of Sulayman's story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw fit to put it in His final book, His final revelation, that will be recited until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's process. Trust Allah's process. Allah knows what He's doing. Allah knows that He put these stories, these incidents in the Quran for reasons that sometimes is beyond what we can even understand or fathom. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captures this incident with Sulayman and the ant, an army. Sulayman and his army marching forth, and they come towards a valley, Wad al-Naml. They come to a valley filled with ants. وَقَالَتْ نَمْلَةُ. And one ant in particular said to the rest of the ants, أَيُّهَا النَّمَلْ أَيُّهَا النَّمَلْ. Oh, you group of ants, أُدْخُلُوا مَسَاكِنَكُمْ. Go into your homes. Go into your homes. وَلَا يَحْتِمَنَّكُمْ سُلَيْمَانُ وَجُنُودُهُ. Do not subject yourself, or do not leave yourself open for Sulayman and his army to trample upon you. وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. While they don't even realize it. This is an ant. Sulayman heard the comment of this ant. Subhanallah. Prophet Sulayman, he heard the comment of this ant. He said, أَيُّهَا النَّمَلْ أَيُّهَا النَّمَلْ. Oh, you group of ants, ادخلوا مساكنكم. Go into your homes. لا يحتمنكم سليمان وجنوده. Do not be trampled upon by Sulayman and his army. وهم لا يشعرون. While they don't even realize it. And this shows us, because ants are small, and in the grand scheme of a human life, ant may seem insignificant to you. Right? May seem insignificant. But what we gather from this is that as human beings, sometimes we can be dismissive of people because of their insignificance in our eyes, or their issues being insignificant and unimportant to our lives, but significant and important in their lives. This ant and the lives of the rest of the ants were important to them. May not have been important to Sulayman and the other human beings that were with him, the army. They're on their way to war. They're on their way to battle, right? And they're looking at a bigger picture. They're looking at the world from a different perspective. From a soldier's perspective, an insignificant ant on the floor means absolutely nothing. But to that ant's life means everything to it. You follow me? So this is what we draw from this. Many lessons we can draw from this, but one of the main lessons that I wanted to highlight here is how we can be dismissive of other people's significance. Don't be dismissive of other people's significance. That person may not mean anything to you, but that person means everything to themselves. That person's issue may not be important to you, but that person's issue is important to them. It's important to them. And our religion teaches us to be empathetic, not to be dismissive of people. You don't necessarily have to agree. You don't necessarily have to see the world the way they see it, but to respect that person's significance. To respect their significance. I don't want to come off dismissive towards you because that may be important to you. But it may not be important to me because I don't live your life. I don't see the world through your lens. So I can't possibly understand how important it is to you. I'm sure it must be important to you. But to me, it may not be that important. But it does not stop me from respecting your significance and what you consider important. Right? That ant's life and the life of the other ants was obviously important. This one ant just saved the whole entire colony of ants. Obviously, their lives were important to them. He said, لا يحتمنكم سليمان. Do not let Sulayman and his army trample upon you, step on you, وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. While they don't even realize it. It's not that they were doing it on purpose. It's just that the ants sometimes are so insignificant that we don't see how important they are. You understand? And it's actually haram in Islam to kill ants. If they're not harmful, it is haram to kill them. But to speak to them, they may understand, wallahu a'lam, but to speak to them and ask them to leave your house. Ask them to exit peacefully. Ask them to exit. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, rid your house of, So, the point that I'm making is that this comment by this one little ant, and another lesson, right? Another lesson that we get from this is that no matter how small you are, you can make an impact. This one little ant just ensaved an entire colony. No matter how small you believe you are, you can always make an impact. Mu'athir. You can make an impact. This one little ant made an impact. All right? So the story continues, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now capturing the response or the reaction of Sulayman when he heard this ant. If you could hear ants speaking, right, that would be just mind-blowing, right? I probably wouldn't want that because I'm sure that they have a narrative, they have a story to tell from their angle, from their perspective, the way they see the world, the way they see human beings, right? The way they see human beings, they will probably tell us something about ourselves that we probably wouldn't want to hear, right? Ants, if you could hear the conversation of an ant that lives in your house, tell you about yourself, seeing you from the lowly position where they are, they live right there on the ground, and be able to look up at you as a human being and tell you about yourself, you probably couldn't handle the conversation that an ant had for you. Most of us probably couldn't handle that conversation. Because the animal, that insect, is seeing you from a world where you couldn't possibly begin to understand their perspective. All right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captures Prophet Sulayman's response. So profound. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَتَبَسَّمَ ضَاحِكًا مِنْ قَوْلِهَا. And Sulayman started laughing at the statement of this ant. How, serious this ant was about saving its life and the life of others, and, warning the others that Sulayman may possibly step on you without even realizing it. Because from human beings' perspective, we see the world from where we see it, and ants, they see the world from where they see it. And sometimes our perspectives don't align with one another, right? Our perspectives don't align sometimes. And when our perspectives don't align, sometimes we become very dismissive of other people, right? They don't see the world as I see it. Well, forget them, right? We don't want to hear who you are and what you're selling until you can see the world from our perspective. And I don't necessarily need to see the world from your perspective, but I need to have respect for your perspective. And that's something that our religion teaches us. Unfortunately, we have lost sight of that today. We want to make everybody one. We want to put everybody on one accord. And you are not allowed to have your own world experiences and bring that along with you as we travel this path of being upon La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. You got to see, right? You got to see the world from everyone else's perspective. So Sulayman, when he heard the ant say this, he began to smile. And this statement of this ant, it reminded Sulayman of all of the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him that perhaps he had not been as grateful for or have not done his due diligence in showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here's an ant telling other ants to go into the house because they don't want to be smashed. A human being never has to say to another human being, go into your house before you get crushed by another form, another creature, right? Human beings, we run the earth. Right? We run the earth. A lot of trolls on here today. I don't know. Maybe it's Wednesday. I don't know. I just don't understand for the life of me. How do you go on someone else's Periscope and they're saying something that you don't necessarily vibe with and you just start commenting? Just leave. Leave the Periscope. I wouldn't even go on to someone's scope if they were saying something or it was about something that had nothing to do with me and my beliefs and my worldviews. I wouldn't even waste my time. Right? I can't figure for the life of me, All right. So anyway, the scholars, as I said before, they have a phrase, a shay b'shay yuthkar. Something, when you see something that reminds you of something else, it triggers something. Like when you see someone, it reminds you of another incident or something else going on in your life, right? it triggers, this pondering and this reflective, attitude. All right. When something resembles something else, it causes you to be reflective. Unfortunately, today, we have lost the ability to be reflective. We've lost the ability to be reflective. We've lost the ability to ponder over the experiences that are around us. You understand? We have failed to become a nation of people who are reflective and who ponder over the experiences that are around us. We have a plethora of experiences, whether personal, social. We have a plethora of experiences. People that we've met in the elevator, somebody you met at Starbucks, somebody you met at Dunkin' Donuts. That was an experience. Even if the window was very short, you may never run into that person again. But we have to make the experiences that we have with one another meaningful, because they are all a contributing factor into you becoming the best you that you are going to become, or the worst you are going to become, either or. But we don't take experiences, we don't take them seriously. We don't take them seriously. As I'm sitting in the car last night, tired, exhausted, I got a 45-minute ride in front of me, and here's this ambulance with this old guy in the back of the ambulance with a tube coming out of his mouth, a tube, something wrapped around his head, and I'm saying to myself, this guy is on his way home, this guy is on his way to the emergency room, and I'm on my way home to go relax and get in bed. You know what I mean? Like we're having, it just so happened that our paths crossed last night at that moment, at that time. You understand? I may never see this guy again. I don't even know who he is. Don't know who he was. Nothing. Never see him again. But for that very moment that we shared the same space at that very moment, we have to make the experience meaningful. We have to make the experience meaningful for that very moment. Think about people who we are married to, in relationships with, and our experiences are meaningless. We come and go every day, and we don't even take the moment to reflect over us being in the same space at the same time. That wasn't coincidental. There was a reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you to be in the same space with me at this particular moment in my life. Why didn't I meet you 10 years ago? Why didn't I meet you 20 years ago? Why didn't we share the same space 15 years ago? Because it wasn't written for our lives to cross each other's paths at that time. You understand? It's divine. And as a result of that, we've lost, the ability to be reflective and to ponder over the experiences that are around us. All throughout the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, instructs us, right? Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs us to be reflective on the world around us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَتَكُونَ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ يَعْقِلُونَ بِهَا أَوْ آذَانٌ يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا. Don't they travel through the earth and see what was the end result of the nations that came before? That they have hearts that hear and eyes in which what they see. Right? Hearts with which they reflect and they understand, because life is such that you can only live it going forward, but you can only understand it going backwards. You don't understand the world going forward because you don't know what the future holds. You live your life going forward, but you can only understand it going backwards. The further back you go about the world, it helps to broaden your world perspective, your world view. A person who has a very narrow world view is because the person doesn't know anything about their history. Which is why Kanye West can make a comment like 400 years of slavery. That seems like a choice to me. He can make a blatant comment. He can make a callous comment like that. Because we're talking about someone who is not reflective over what happened and what transpired throughout history. So you sit from a place of privilege and you judge the past based upon where you are right now because you don't know the past. Live in it for a few. Live in the past for a little bit, right? Dive into some books. Swim a little bit in the past, in the history And I promise you, your worldview will broaden. It will broaden a whole lot. So all throughout the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs us to be reflective. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ Don't they ponder and reflect on the Quran? أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا Or is there a lock on your heart? A lock on your heart. That means that your ability to ponder and reflect is very minimum. You don't have the ability to ponder and reflect. All right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to ponder over the Quran. Allah commands us to ponder and reflect on the nations that came before. Right? Because you can only live life forward, but you can only understand it backwards. However, we've lost the ability to ponder and reflect. Our attention span, we all suffer at some level from ADD, attention deficit disorder. We all suffer on some level from ADD living in this country, living in this particular climate. We are suffering. Our attention span has been compromised by social media. Our attention span has been compromised by social media and its ocean of information, games, apps that provide us with constant engagement, which has in turn devalued in our eyes the process and the need for deep reflection. You understand? Social media has compromised our ability to ponder and reflect. Because of social media's ocean of information, games, apps that all provide us with constant engagement, which in turn has devalued in our eyes the process and need for deep reflection. There's a very beautiful, wallah al-azim, for those of you who understand Arabic, the quote that I'm about to give to you is so profound. In English, I'm going to do my best to translate it so that it makes sense to you in English. For those of you who understand Arabic, sit back for a moment and just allow these few sentences to sink deep into your heart, into your soul. Hasan al-Basri, one of the great scholars of the Tabi'un. Hasan al-Basri. You'd be hard-pressed to talk about the Tabi'un or mention the generation that came after the Sahaba without mentioning Hasan al-Basri. Hasan al-Basri, he said, عَمَلْنَا الْقُلُوبِ بِالتَّفَكُّرِ We conditioned our hearts to ponder. We conditioned our hearts to ponder. عَمَلْنَا الْقُلُوبِ بِالتَّفَكُّرِ We conditioned our hearts, right? Constantly engaging our hearts to be reflective. فَأَوْرَثَنَا التَّذَكَّرِ And by being reflective, it caused us to remember things that we had forgotten about. فَرَجَعْنَا بِالتَّذَكُّرِ عَلَى التَّفَكُّرِ وَحَرَّكْنَا الْقُلُوبِ بِهِمَا So we began to ponder more and remember more. And then ponder more and remember more. And we brought our hearts back to life as a result of that. حَرَّكْنَا الْقُلُوبِ We began to move our hearts in a direction where they became lively. Subhanallah. عَمَلْنَا الْقُلُوبِ بِالتَّفَكُّرِ فَأَوْرَثَنَا التَّذَكُّرِ فَرَجَعْنَا بِالتَّذَكُّرِ عَلَى التَّفَكُّرِ وَحَرَّكْنَا الْقُلُوبِ بِهِمَا And we begin to bring our hearts back to life with both of them, pondering and reflecting and remembering the things that we had forgot about. He said, فَإِنَّ الْقُلُوبِ لَهَا أَسْمَعْ وَالْأَبْصَارِ He said, the hearts, they have ears and they have eyes. The hearts, they have ears, and the hearts, they have eyes. They can hear and see. Understand? Wallah al-azim, so profound if you understand Arabic. Wallah al-azim, your heart, your qalbuka yutiru fi as-sama. Your heart should be flying in the air right now. Subhanallah. One of the disbelievers of Quraysh, he said, the first time I heard the Prophet ﷺ, he was reciting Surah An-Najm. I told you guys this the other night. The first surah that the Prophet ﷺ recited in public was Surah An-Najm, surah number 53 in the Quran. One of the disbelievers, he said, this was the first time that I had ever heard the Quran. كَأَنَّ قَلْبِي يَطِيرُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. It was as if my heart jumped out of my chest and began to fly in the sky. That was the feeling that I had the first time I heard the Quran. He said, فَحَرَّكْنَا الْقُلُوبِ بِهِمَا. We begin to motivate our hearts, inspire our hearts with both of them. He said, فَإِنَّ الْقُلُوبِ لَهَا أَسْمَعْ وَالْأَبْصَارِ. Hearts, they have ears and they have eyes. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارُ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبَ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. That it is not the eyes that go blind, but it is the heart that is in the chest. Social media has stolen our ability to ponder and reflect. And as a result of pondering and reflecting, we begin to become ungrateful because we forget about all of the bounties and blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Wallahu azim. Think about our children right now. Our children, this generation of children, are the most ungrateful, privileged children that America has ever seen. And that is as a result of the constant engagement of social media, which has stolen their ability to ponder and reflect on the experiences and the world around them, which has caused them to forget much of the blessings that they have. You see the process. You see the formula. Wallah al-azim, I have a couple of them. And many of my children, I have already taken their cell phones from them. They don't have cell phones. Some of them don't have cell phones right now as we speak, because of the very same thing that I am telling you right now. Ungrateful, privileged. And that is because the constant engagement of social media has stolen their ability and yatafakkur, to ponder and reflect. Sometimes to sit in a car, wallahu al-azim, the most deepest thoughts that I have ever had have been sitting in the back seat of a car, staring out the window as the car goes wherever it is going. That is some of the most deepest reflections, the most deepest moments of my thoughts are sitting in the back of a vehicle. Any brother who knows me, who has accommodated me in your city or in your masjid, you know that when brothers go out, you come and take me to Starbucks or whatever, I always sit in the back seat. I never sit in the front seat. Because as long as I'm sitting in the front seat, I got to engage the driver. I got to talk to you. And I told you before, I don't like people. I like to be into myself. I am my own best friend. You understand? I am my own best friend, and it took me a long time to figure that out. Placating everybody else's feelings, right? Trying to make everybody else a people pleaser, trying to make everybody else happy. And then you realize that no matter how much you try to make everybody happy, there's always going to be one or two people that are still never happy with you. So you start to say, to hell with you, let me make myself happy. How about that? And I ain't never got to worry about being dissatisfied with me. You understand? Facts on top of facts. I ain't never got to worry about disappointing myself because I am true to myself. To thine own self, huh? Absolutely. You ain't never got to worry about disappointing yourself because you don't allow yourself to get beyond yourself. You tell yourself, reel it in. It's not that serious. You not that guy. You understand? So I say to hell with everybody else, man. I try to make me happy at this point. So I'm wasting my life trying to make everybody else around me happy, only to find that the more you try to make them happy, the more dissatisfied and the more disgruntled they become with you. So you start to say, you know what? I give up, man. I can't make people happy. Only one that I can be responsible for is my own happiness. I'm not responsible for your happiness. If you are miserable, I'm sorry. If I had anything to do with that process, I'm sorry. But I can't get you out of that. Right? You're on your own with that one. If you unhappy, you miserable. If I contribute to any of that, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. That wasn't my intention. I'm a human being, and we do things. I'm a man on top of that. On top of being a human being, I'm a man. So, we don't always get it right. We do dumb things at times. So, but it wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to hurt you. It wasn't my intention. You bring it to my attention, I apologize all day long. That's not my struggle. But I can't get you out of that situation. If you're miserable, that's your own journey. You got to get yourself out of that one, man. I can't help you. I can't help you. And that includes your family as well. That includes your family as well. You can choose to be a victim, or you can choose to not be a victim. That's your choice. Being a victim is not a choice. If someone targets you, you didn't ask for that. You didn't ask for the person to target you. Being a victim is not a choice. You didn't have any choice in that. Person woke up on the wrong side of the bed, miserable, hurt people. So he decided he's going to make your life miserable today. You the victim today. You didn't ask for that. We don't ask to be victims. Being a victim is not a choice. Remaining a victim is a choice. Remaining a victim is a choice. You can choose to wallow in that situation. Oh, woe is me. Or you can say, you know what? The person did that to me. That says a lot about them. That doesn't define me. And I have to keep it moving. You understand? So, nonetheless, Prophet Sulayman, alayhi salam, he used the comment of the ant, ignited within him that very moment. At that very moment when he heard the comment of that ant, it ignited within him the ability to now begin to be reflective. Here is this creature in fear that I'm going to walk over top of it, kill it because of my own dismissiveness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed me in this position of authority, right? I don't ever have to worry about that. But here's other creatures worrying about my harm, right? And this should be important for parents, husbands, wives. You a man, you a husband. You should be in awe of the authority that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. You can divorce a woman. You don't necessarily need a reason. You can pack your stuff and leave, and you don't need to answer to nobody. You have an authority as a man just by default of being a man that you should be afraid of. That subhanAllah, Allah has put this woman, these children at my beck under my authority. You understand? That should make you, that should make you reflect. That should make you reflect on all of the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. As a woman, Allah has given you the authority. You control most of the time the direction of the children and how those children are going to turn out, especially the boys. The woman is the first, the mother is the first woman the son falls in love with. And based upon his relationship with his mother will determine how he interacts with women for the rest of his life. Illa man rahimallah, except those men whom Allah decides to have mercy upon them. As a woman, as a mother, you shape the social, psychosexual component of that male child based upon your interaction with them. You can either build him up and make him a king, and he'll treat every woman in his life like a queen, or you can break him down, make him a peasant, and he'll treat every woman in his life like a whore. You understand? You, as a woman, you play a big role in that. You can either build your child up, build his self-esteem, build his, his look on himself, And you can make him think of himself as a king, and he'll treat every woman in his life like a queen, or you can reduce him to a peasant. You can break him down to his lowest molecule until there's nothing left of him, and he'll treat every woman in his life like a whore. He'll have no respect for any woman. And so for all these men out here, degrading women and belittling women, they grew up in homes with single mothers. You trying to figure out where did that come from? So don't say, there was no man in the home. The man does not shape the boy's relationship with other women. He don't do that. Because when men get a certain age, we don't see our fathers as the role model anyway. Because that's our way of gaining our independence. I'm not following behind him. Even my oldest son, I'll pick up a pair of shoes. He'll grab the opposite just to grab the opposite, just to show me that he's his own man. You understand what I'm saying? Men don't get that from other men. They look at you, they pick you apart, they get some little bits and pieces from you that they, feel that can be a benefit to them. But the rest, they trying to figure it out on their own, as they should. They just using you as a model. But you don't, as a man, don't shape his relationship with other women. His mother does. His mother does. So when we talk about the state of our ummah, the state of Muslim boys, or the state of men, period, in the world that we live in, and how disrespectful they are towards women, most of these men, especially African Americans, came out of the homes of single mothers. And I'm not blaming single mothers. I know some of you guys do, your best. I know you do your best. But at the same token, you also have to look at how, the intricacies of your interaction with these boys, man. You cannot afford to baby them and coddle them and, this emotional incest that goes on between single mothers and their boys. Nah, you can't do that, man. So Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, let me tell you about Prophet Sulayman's father. Almost there, inshallah. We're almost at the dua. Let me walk you through this. Prophet Sulayman's father, Prophet Dawood, was a man of many blessings. And Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, he understood the concept of to whom much is given, much is required. Prophet Dawood understood that concept, but Prophet Dawood alayhi salam was a man of many blessings. He understood the concept to whom much is given, much is required. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon him and his family innumerous blessings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ مِنَّا فَضْلًا. And indeed we have given Dawood from us many blessings. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's statement. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, indeed, we have given Dawood from us many blessings. Fadla. We have given him many blessings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's walk through some of the blessings, because sometimes we need to be reminded of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done for us. We look at fasting in the month of Ramadan as a burden. We look at salat as a burden. We look at not being able to eat pork as a burden. We will look at not being able to wear silk or jewelry or gold as a burden. We look at the hijab as a burden. We look at all of these things in the religion. We want Islam without Islam. That's what we want. We want Islam without Islam. We don't want the 5 pillars. We don't want the 6 articles of faith. We want an empty shell of a religion. That's what we want for many of us. And you can go from your academic Muslims who use their intellect to try to rationalize why this shouldn't be, why that shouldn't be, why I can do this, why I can't do that. And then you got your weak Muslims who don't want to exert any energy, and they want to sit back from a place of privilege and say, well, I'm Muslim too. Well, guess what? We're not the same type of Muslim, brother. We are not the same type of Muslim. We are not the same. Your name is Muhammad and Abdullah. My name is Shadid Muhammad. But we are not the same type of Muslim. You want Islam without Islam. We complain about everything. Oh, the hijab, why I gotta wear this? Oh, it's so hot, why do I have to do this? Oh, it's the month of Ramadan, why do we have to fast? Why? I don't really understand why. Right? Just had a Muslim on here now. What's the real reason to fast? I don't really get it. Why do we have to, why can't we do this? Or why can't we, we want to rationalize everything. We want Islam without Islam. Why not just leave Islam, man? Why don't just go find you another religion, man? Because you obviously don't want Islam. You don't want the religion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfected. He said, "Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum." This day I have completed for you your religion. Wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati, and I have perfected my favor on you. Islam is a blessing from God. It's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah called it a ni'mah. Wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati. Understand? I have perfected my favor upon you. I have completed my favor upon you, my blessing upon you. وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. And I am pleased with Islam for you as your religion. These are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am pleased with Islam for you as your religion. Allah is pleased with the religion as He revealed it to us. He is pleased with this religion for us. We are not pleased with the religion for us. We are not pleased. So we want to, circumvent, we want to reinvent, we want to get around this and that, we want to rationalize, we want to, we want to philosophize everything until we can mold and shape the religion to exactly the way we want it to be. And Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, he said when that ayat was revealed, he said, "Ma lam yakun deenan yawma idin lan yakun deenan." Whatever is not a part of the religion on the day that ayat was revealed will never be a part of the religion. That ayat completed our entire deen. So much so that the Jews came to Umar bin al-Khattab. They said, there's a verse in your book that if that verse had been given to us as the Jewish people, we would have taken that day as a holiday. Umar said, "What verse are you referring to?" They were referring to this verse. "Today I have completed for you your religion, completed my favor upon you, and I am pleased with Islam for you as your religion." Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he said, "I know when it was revealed, where we were when it was revealed, what was happening at the time it was revealed. You don't have to tell me anything about anything in my book." Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, some of the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him. Allah blessed him with courage. Having courage is a blessing. Right? And only a coward understands that. Because a coward wish that he had courage. Only a coward understands how much of being courageous is. You understand? Because cowards, they know they're cowards. Make no mistake about that. They know they're cowards. We don't see somebody do some coward stuff or cowardly stuff and we say, man, that's some coward stuff. Why would the person do that? Don't think the person who did it don't know that he's a coward. He knows he's a coward. He knows when he did some real cowardly stuff. They know. They know better than anybody. So the one that knows that having courage is a blessing is a coward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless, wallah al-azim, there's nothing worse than being a coward. You are your own biggest enemy because the same person you fear bleeds just like you bleed. Walk on 2 feet just like you walk on 2 feet. No different between you and that person. Why are you afraid of that person? Why are you afraid? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Dawood with courage and physical strength. And with this, he slew or he killed, right? He killed Jalut, which we know in English translation is Goliath. He's known in the Quran as Jalut. وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودَ جَالُوتَ. And Dawood killed Jalut. You understand? No fear. Everybody was afraid of Jalut. Everybody was afraid of Jalut. When Prophet Dawood, who was a young boy at the time, young man at the time, he didn't even wear a coat of mail. He didn't even wear any armor. They said, you're going to go out and fight him without any armor on? You know what Dawood said? Prophet Dawood said that if it was meant for me to die, I'm going to die with my armor on or die with the armor off. It doesn't really matter. If death is written for me, I'm going to die anyway, whether I got the armor on or I don't have it on. No fear. If it's meant for me to die, I'm going to die with it on or die with it off. It doesn't really matter. And he walked out onto the battlefield and he slew Goliath with a slingshot and a rock. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Dawood control over the mountains. The biggest thing in our existence, biggest thing in our creation are the mountains. Huge mountains. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَمْشِي فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا, and don't walk on the earth in arrogance. فَإِنَّكَ لَا تَخْرِقَ الْجِبَالُ لَا تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالُ, that you cannot reach the mountains. You're not as big or as huge as the mountains. Right? Don't walk on the earth and there are other forms of creation that are bigger, huge, that are big, that are huge, larger than you. You think as a human being that you are larger than life. You are not larger than life. Your ego makes you believe that you are bigger than what you really are. But you're just a speck amongst the many specks on the earth, right? As you go higher and higher up, the human being begins to disappear. Think about that. We think that we're larger than life as human beings. But the higher you go up, right? If you want to ride at Great Adventures, as you go up on the ride, human beings start to get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Understand, man, how this thing works. Shaitan thought he was better than Adam as well. He said, I'm better than him. That was his ego talking. Shaitan wasn't actually better than Adam. He said, خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ, you created me from fire. وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ, and you created him from dirt. Fire rises. That's where your arrogance comes from. Fire is not actually better than dirt. From dirt you get coolness. From fire you get burnt. Right? But that's your ego talking. That's your ego talking, making you believe that you are larger than life when in fact you're not. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Prophet Dawood the ability to slay Goliath. He gave him control over the mountains. Right, exactly. A same effect with the beach. The further and further you go out into the water, the smaller people start to seem on the land, right? Absolutely. Very good point. And just shows you that what makes you believe that you're bigger is a matter of perception, brother. What makes you believe that you are bigger and better is a matter of perception. Pure perception. That's it. Because as I go up, you get smaller. As I go further out into the ocean, you get smaller. And that's a matter of my perception. Right? So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Prophet Dawood control over the mountains and the ability to communicate with the birds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَوَرِثَ سُلَيْمَانَ دَاوُودَ وَقَالَ أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ عُلِّمْنَا مَنْطِقَ الطَّيْرِ وَأُوتِينَا مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ إِنْ هَذَا لَهُوَ الْفَضْلُ الْمُبِينُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and Sulayman inherited from Dawood. Sulayman inherited from his father. Some of the same miracles that Allah gave to Dawood, he gave to his son Sulayman. This is the blessing of the family, right? There's some from amongst us who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us religious, and some of us had the ability to pass that on to our children, right? Some of us, our children, carried on that legacy of La ilaha illallah. And then there's some of us, masakeen, that our children went in the total opposite direction. If you are a parent right now, and your children are practicing Muslims, which they inherited from you, then consider yourself and your family blessed. Consider yourself and your family blessed. My family is here. My extended family is here online, both of whom come from Muslim families, both of whom I am married to, their daughters who are practicing Muslims. Consider yourself blessed. Consider yourself blessed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَرِثَ سُلَيْمَانَ دَاوُودَ. And Sulayman inherited from his father Dawood. All of the miracles that Allah gave to Dawood, Sulayman inherited all of that, including prophethood. Subhanallah. There were some prophets who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even made their sons prophets. And then there's some who, like Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, who Allah drowned his son right in front of him. Not only was his son a disbeliever, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala killed his son right in front of him. You understand? So there's some prophets who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not allow their children to inherit from them anything. Not their good character, not their deen, not anything. And then there's some who are blessed and highly favored, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with Islam and blessed your children with Islam as well. They may not be the best practicing Muslims. Nonetheless, they are under close watch and they still identify with Islam as their religion. Consider yourself blessed, highly favored. You are a family that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and Sulayman inherited from his father Dawood. And he said, O people, O people, we have been given the ability to speak the language of birds. That was from the blessings that Allah gave to the family of Dawood and Sulayman. They gave them the ability, he inherited from his father, the ability to communicate with birds. And I'm sure that was a heck of a conversation. You understand? And he said, وَأُوتِينَا مِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. And we have been given everything. إِنْ هَذَا لَهُوَ الْفَضْلُ الْمُبِينَ. Indeed, this is a manifest blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah made iron, the iron pliable for Dawood. Pliable, that Dawood was given the ability to twist and bend iron for his own benefit. Subhanallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَأَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ وَأَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ. And we made hadid, we made iron pliable for Dawood. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Dawood the ability to manipulate iron so that he could make coats of mail, of armor. He's a warrior. Alright, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the ability to do righteous deeds. And as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam described the intermittent fasting of Dawood, when the man, he told one of his companions to fast every other day, and the man said, I can do more than that. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La khayrun ghayra. There's no good in other than this type of fast. This is a siyam Dawood. This is the fast of Prophet Dawood. Prophet Dawood alayhi salam used to fast every other day. Tell me a man who recognizes his blessings, and I'll show you a man who spends his life trying to repay God for those blessings. The Prophet ﷺ used to stand up at night until his feet would bleed. And when Aisha asked him, why do you do this when Allah has forgiven you for your past and your future sins? He said, أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Should I not be a grateful servant? Meaning, I don't do less because of the blessing. I do more because of the blessing. I do more. Show me a man who understands the blessing of God upon him, the blessing of Allah upon him, and I'll show you a man who spends the rest of his life in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying to repay that debt that he owes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this only comes when you reach a certain level of consciousness, a certain frequency of understanding. This only happens when you arrive at a certain place, when you understand, as the Prophet ﷺ said, لَوْ تَعْلَمُوا مَا أَعْلَمُ لَضَحِكْتُمْ قَلِيلًا وَلَبَكِيتُمْ كَثِيرًا. That if you knew what I knew, you would cry much and you would laugh less. You would laugh less and cry more. That's because the Prophet ﷺ had a higher understanding, a higher degree of understanding of the world. and his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And his son, Prophet Dawood, his son Sulayman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him control over the wind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only gave Sulayman control over wind, he gave him control over wind for a month's journey. A month worth of wind, right? That's how long his reach was. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلِسُلَيْمَانَ الرِّيحِ غَدُوهَا شَهْرًا وَرَوَاحُهَا شَهْرًا. And Sulayman, we gave him rih, we gave him control over the wind. غَدُوهَا شَهْرًا, that the morning wind and the night wind, a month's journey. Can you imagine that? Not only did Allah give him control over wind, he gave him control over wind, a month's journey. That's how far. The distance that it takes for a breeze to take a month, that's how much power Sulayman had over the wind. And the Prophet ﷺ was given a similar blessing. He was given, as he said, Nusirtu bir-ru'b shahran. The Prophet ﷺ was given the ability to strike fear into the hearts of his enemy for a month's journey. A month before the disbelievers knew the Prophet was coming, they were in fear. These are miracles, blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Prophet Sulayman a spring of liquid copper, and he had control over the jinn, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to his dua for a dominion that no one will ever have after him. The kingdom of Solomon, Solomon's kingdom, no human being has ever been granted such opulence, such luxuries as was given to Prophet Sulayman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that Prophet Sulayman, he said, وَهَبَ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابِ. Sulayman said, "Oh my Lord," the only other dua of Sulayman in the Quran, Sulayman said, "And give me a dominion, a kingdom, لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي, that no one will ever have after me. I want a kingdom that no man will have after me. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابِ, indeed you are the bestower, you are the giver." And every single one of us as a man, this dua speaks to something very deep within every man, and that is the need and the desire for exclusivity. Every man wants to be unique. Every man, or should want to be unique anyway, in his own right. That is part of what makes us a man. Even different and unique from our own fathers. No man wants to live in the shadow of his father. Every man wants to be unique. It speaks to a deeper need as a man to want exclusivity. I want to be exclusive. I want to be different from the rest. I want to be different than everybody else. And there's nothing wrong with that. We should condition our children to be unique and to revel in their uniqueness. Nothing wrong with that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed the family of Dawood, all of them, to give thanks, to show gratitude for the innumerable blessings, the immeasurable blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, اعملوا آل داود شكرا وقليلا من عبادي الشكور. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اعملوا آل داود شكرا. O family of Dawood, work towards being grateful. For all of you Muslim families out there right now, all of you Muslim families right now that are blessed, highly favored, اعملوا shukran, right? Work towards being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do you be grateful for the blessings that Allah gave you? That's a whole other lecture. But for starters, showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to recognize, number one, that no matter how much you do to show Allah how grateful you are, it will never be enough. Number two is to use the blessing in which Allah has given you in a manner that is pleasing to Him. And number three is to speak about your blessings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to be praised. As human beings, we love to be praised. We love when people talk about us and the things that we've done. Some people live and revel in self-praise and revel in the praise of others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to be praised for what He has done for His creation, to talk about the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "I'malu ali Dawood shukra." Work, O family of Dawood, towards being grateful. وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. And Allah ended the ayah by saying, and only few of my servants are grateful. Only few of my servants are grateful. Showing you that the quality of gratitude is very few, far and in between amongst Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creatures. وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. You speak about your blessings to those whom value your blessings and are grateful for the fact that you have your blessings. You don't share your blessings with everybody. That's rule number one. Some people don't deserve to hear about your blessings. They don't deserve it. Because they don't value ni'mah. They don't value blessings. Because they either don't cherish or value the blessings they have, or they see life as being so daunting that they believe they don't have any blessings. So anytime they hear about somebody having a blessing, immediately they go and they try to shatter, the joy and the excitement that people experience with their blessings. Everybody is not deserving of you sharing your blessings with them. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, seek assistance in the success of your affairs by hiding them from other people. فَإِنَّ كُلِّ ذِي نِعْمَةٍ مَحْسُودٍ. That every person that has a blessing is going to find someone who is going to be jealous of them. You understand? As a paid lesson that many of us have paid much of our lives for. I'm giving it to you tonight for free. I'm giving it to you tonight for free. Be selective. Not just selective about the people you consider friends, but selective about the people who you share your blessings with. This even includes your siblings. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, his own brothers, Prophet Yaqub, his father, told him what? Don't tell your brothers about your dream. You understand? Don't tell your own brothers about your dream. لا يا بني لا تقصص رؤياك على إخوتك فيكيدون لك كيدا. Do not share your dream, which is a blessing. Because that meant that he was going to be a king. That meant he was going to be a prophet. That meant that his family was going to prostrate to him. That was the interpretation of his dream. He said, don't tell your brothers about your dream. Because they're going to plot against you. And this is your own biological siblings. Some people are not deserving of hearing about your blessings. Understand? Some people don't deserve to hear about it. How you work so hard for this blessing and then go share it with somebody who's going to destroy it. You understand? Some people are not deserving of hearing about the good that is going on in your life. Stop sharing your life with social media. Every good and every joy in your life does not have to be shared with the whole world. If you need validation, seek validation from the circle in which you got your joy from the beginning. If you at dinner, you sharing dinner with your friends, you don't need to take a picture and share it with the world. Enjoy the moment with your friends. Live in that moment. You understand? That's where your blessings are. Live in that very moment. You don't need to take a snapshot of it and post it on social media so everybody can see that you were hanging out with these group of people and you guys were eating like this. Everybody doesn't need to know that. And then we wonder why parts and bits and pieces of our lives begin to crumble because you welcome the evil eye into your life. You welcome that. You welcome that. How you work so hard for a blessing and then go share it with somebody who in the smaller amount of time, a shorter amount of time, he or she is able to destroy your blessing. You work 3-4 years. You've been having to sit down with this brother for months, right? You finally marry this brother after going through things with his family, that, and then you go share, oh, I got married to this brother with this sister, and she gritting on you from afar, hoping that your marriage crumble, and eventually it does. You ain't have to say nothing. You ain't obligated to say nothing to nobody about nothing that goes on in your life. That's your life. You're not obligated by anybody's standards to share what is going on in your life with anybody else. I'm not obligated. Oh, why didn't you tell me that you got married? I didn't know it was an obligation. You understand? I didn't know I was obligated to tell you. My life is my life. If I chose not to share it with you, then you should just respect that. Obviously, if I didn't say anything, then that means I didn't want you to know. I didn't know I was obligated. But there's this privilege that we feel like we have on other people's lives. Oh, why didn't you tell me that this happened? I didn't know I was obligated to tell you. Or now that I do, I mean, not to be sarcastic, but I'm just saying, like, some people just barge into your life, brody their way into your life as if you owed them something. Oh, why didn't you tell me that you guys were going here or going there? Because I didn't want to tell you. What do you mean? I got to tell you every single step that I make? This happens in friendships. You cool with one person, you're cool with all of them, but there's some people you like to do certain things with that you don't necessarily like to do with other people. And some people just don't know how to respect that until you spell it out for them. You got to spell it out for them. You can't let them figure that out. You have to spell it out for them. So you and this person make plans to go here. The third party finds out about it. Oh, why y'all ain't tell me y'all was going? Man, what do you mean why I ain't tell you? Because I didn't want you to know. I didn't know I was obligated to tell you. I didn't know that was an obligation. It was wajib on me to share with you every single move I make with somebody else. This is the problem of friendships, because we don't know how to respect boundaries within the friendship. You got to set boundaries. Boundaries are for you, not for the other people, because other people don't know boundaries. You do. You set the boundaries in your relationships with people. If not, people will trample all over top of your boundaries all day, every day. Set boundaries. We're cool, but I want you to understand something, that you're going to see me make certain moves, and I don't want you to be in your feelings about certain things. Like, I'm a grown woman. I'm a grown man. I don't need to express to you every single move that I make. That is not what makes us friends. What makes us friends is not that everywhere I go, you go. That's not a friendship. That's a codependence. That's codependency. Everywhere I go, you got to go. Every time I go do this, you gotta tag along. Like, no, that's codependence, man. You need to go get your life. Don't be codependent on me, man. Go get your life, man. So, understand, man, like, everybody is not deserving of hearing about your blessings. Pick and choose who you share your blessings with. After all, there are blessings, right? This is not just like some information you read on the internet. This is something, a personal life experience that happened to you. A blessing that Allah gave to you. That's an amana for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah gave you a blessing, it's an amana. It's a trust on how you use it and who you share it with. You understand? Understand how that works. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you a blessing, that blessing is an amana. It's a trust. Who you share that with, you got to be selective about that. Everybody is not deserving of hearing about your blessings, man. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "I'malu ala Dawood shukra." O family of Dawood, work towards being grateful. Allah commanded the whole family of Dawood. Allah didn't command Dawood to be grateful. Allah commanded the entire family of Dawood, entire family, to be grateful. Work towards being grateful. So I'm telling all of you Muslim families right now, Muslim families that come from Muslim families, second, third, fourth generation Muslim families who pride yourselves on being, 3, 4, 5 generations into Islam, work towards being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing of Islam. My family are non-Muslims. I pray that at some point Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them to Islam. But I have a select few of cousins who have taken Shahada here and there, not necessarily practicing, but we are the only Muslims in my entire family. 100 and something great grand and grandchildren, and only 2 or 3 of them Muslim. And then here you have families of Muslims. Philadelphia, I'm talking to you. New York, I'm talking to you. Newark, New Jersey, I'm talking to you. Because in those places, especially with African Americans, you have families of Muslims, generations of Muslims. And many of them ungrateful for the blessing of Islam. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should just strip your entire family of Islam and maybe give it to another miskeen, another poor family that would probably be grateful that their whole entire family is Muslim. Maybe they would be grateful that their whole entire family is Muslim. Families that don't even celebrate the Eid together. Family can't remember the last time you celebrated Eid with your mother or your father or your brothers, your siblings. Subhanallah al-Azim, man. When are you going to be grateful for the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Islam is a ni'mah that Allah did not have to give to you and your family. Allah could have gave it to somebody else's family. All these converts like myself who struggling trying to give your family dawah here and here, year after year after year go by. You scared that you're going to get a notice that one of your family members died and they're off to the hellfire for eternity. Meanwhile, you and your whole entire family are Muslims and none of y'all pray. Meanwhile, you and your whole entire family are Muslims. None of you pray. None of you fast. None of you do anything that is representative of Islam. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Or we allow, this one is Salafi, he ain't Salafi. Man, I wouldn't give a daggone if your mother, your father was not. I wouldn't care what they were. That's your mother, that's your father. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your family with Islam. You understand? That's more than I can say for myself. That's more than many converts to Islam can say for themselves. But we still fragmented. Here we are. This one don't speak to that one don't speak to this one don't speak to that one. Man, wallah al-azim, we need to fix that, man. Don't let Ramadan in and you have family members amongst you that are Muslim that you don't speak to. You ain't got to like them. You ain't got to hang out with them every day. But be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing of Islam. So Sulayman, alayhi salam, knowing the soul's natural inclination towards selfishness, supplicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inspire him with the ability to be grateful. Gratitude is such that we have to beg Allah to make us grateful. That's how ungrateful we are as human beings. So here's the dua. Prophet Sulayman, he said, Rabbi awzi'ni, Rabbi awzi'ni, Rabbi awzi'ni, an ashkura ni'mataka, allati an'amta alayya wa ala waliday. This is a longer dua, but challenge yourself. It's a dua challenge. It's Ramadan. What a better time to challenge yourself than now. No greater time, no better time than to challenge yourself than now. He said, Rabbi awzi'ni, oh my Lord, inspire me, and ashkura ni'mataka allati an'amta alayya, to be grateful for the blessing that you have given me and you have given to my parents. Give it that you have given to me and you have given to my parents. No, you don't have to say it in Arabic, but the dua challenge at the end of the month, all of them have to be said in Arabic. Yes. But you yourself, no, you don't have to memorize it in Arabic. You can say it in English, it's just as well. Just as effective in English as it is in Arabic. Rabbi awzi'ni, Rabbi awzi'ni, Rabbi awzi'ni. Oh my Lord, inspire me. Oh my Lord, inspire me. And this dua is found in Surah As-Saba, I believe, Surah number 34 in the Quran. If someone can find the ayah, the exact number of the ayah, inshallah. I thought I wrote it down. It's in Surah As-Saba, I believe. Surah number 34 in the Quran. If someone can find the ayah and share it with us, inshallah. Rabbi awzi'ni. Oh, excuse me, Surah Naml. You're right, excuse me. The story of the ant. I don't know why I said Saba. The story of the ant, a whole chapter named after the ants. Naml. Surah number 27, ayat 19. Jazakallah khair. Sister Zendre. I hope I'm saying that correctly. All right. Rabbi awzi'ni. Oh my Lord, inspire me. And ashkura, to be grateful. Ni'mataka, for your blessing. Allati, which an'amta alayya, which you have given me. Wa ala waliday, and which you have given to my parents. The blessing that you have given to me and to my parents. Rabbi awzi'ni أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا, and that I do righteous deeds ترضاه, that you are pleased with. وأدخلني برحمتك, and that you allow me to enter through your mercy في عبادك الصالحين, amongst your righteous servants. Very powerful dua. He's basically asking Allah to inspire me with the ability to be grateful to you for the blessing that you have given to me and to my parents, and to do righteous deeds that you are pleased with, and that you enter me amongst your ranks of your righteous servants. Very powerful dua. Powerful, man. It would take us another 3 or 4 hours to just dissect the dua itself. That's the sad part. I spend most of my lecture giving you the backstory, and we don't even have an opportunity to break down, dissect the dua, so that we can actually digest the meanings. But hopefully, inshallah, you can do that on your own time. All right? So he's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inspire him with the ability to be grateful for the blessing that Allah has given him and his 2 parents, and to do righteous deeds that Allah would be pleased with, and to enter him amongst the ranks of his righteous servants. This dua Sulayman made after he heard the ant make the comment, "O ants, go into your homes, for before Sulayman trample on top of you," while not realizing this. And Sulayman laughed, he smiled at the comment of the ant, and then he made this dua. What inspired Sulayman to go back and reflect? It was the reflection that caused him to remember all of the blessings that Allah has given him and his family. It only takes one situation. This was a light bulb moment for Prophet Sulayman. This was a light bulb moment for him. The light bulb went off by simply seeing this situation. رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ وَعَلَى وَالِدَيَّ وَأَنْ أَعْمَلَ صَالِحًا تَرْضَاهُ وَأَدْخِلْنِي بِرَحْمَتِكَ فِي عِبَادِكَ الصَّالِحِينَ وَأَدْخِلْنِي بِرَحْمَتِكَ فِي عِبَادِكَ الصَّالِحِينَ وَأَدْخِلْنِي بِرَحْمَتِكَ فِي عِبَادِكَ الصَّالِحِينَ. Oh my Lord, inspire me with the ability to be grateful to you. Right? SubhanAllah, sometimes we need to be reminded of what Allah has done for us. What Allah has done for you and your family. Here we are, Muslim family, Muslim daughter don't even speak to her mother. Muslim son don't even speak to his father. Muslim brothers and sisters don't even give each other salams. You come over to your mom's house, you don't even give your brother and sister salams. Look at how we treat the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meanwhile, you have poor individuals who come into Islam, embrace Islam, and their whole entire family is Christian. Their whole entire family are Christians. They don't even have somebody that they can sit down with and have conversations with about Islam. They have to duck and dodge shade that is being thrown at them constantly by family members who either don't understand Islam or don't care to understand about Islam. SubhanAllah al-Azim. Meanwhile, you Muslim, your whole family Muslim, and y'all treat the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, treat the blessing of Islam like it's nothing. How many Muslim families, mother don't pray, father don't pray, children don't pray? How you Muslim, whole family of Muslims, nobody prays in the house. How? Sometimes, brothers, you marry women and then they come from a whole Muslim family. Nobody in the family pray. You like, yo, girl, how your whole family Muslim? Nobody pray in the house. Nobody pray. How is your whole family Muslim and nobody prays? I don't understand that. Nobody makes salat in the house. And then here you come, super Muslim, and everybody running for the hills. They see you coming with your thobe and your beard, and everybody want to get religious when you come around. No, don't get religious when I come around, man. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always around. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala see you, hear you, is aware of what you do even before you do it. Don't get religious because somebody who you perceive as religious come around. Now all of a sudden you want to put on a thobe, you want to start using mashallah, inshallah in your vernacular, right? Prior to that, the word Allah don't even come out your mouth. Yet the whole family Muslim. Like I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I pray for those of us who have children, those of us who we are the only Muslims in our family, and we are now starting a Muslim family from scratch. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep our children upon this religion of Islam. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow our children to carry on this religion to the next generation, so that with our grandchildren, inshallah, we now have a Muslim family. Those of us who converted to Islam and we don't have any Muslim family members, do you know how hard it is for us? Do you know how difficult it is not having any Muslim family members? Nobody in your family to talk to, nobody to share your journey with you, nobody to understand. You understand? Nobody. And then we get married, and then we have children, and we're trying to pass on that tradition to our children. That perhaps, inshallah, they will get married and have children, right? And then their children, now we have a Muslim family, because we have children and we have grandchildren that are now Muslim. So we got to wait for grandchildren to come along in order for us to have a Muslim family. Meanwhile, you got a mother, father, sister, brother, uncles, aunts that are Muslim, and we don't even value the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll say the dua one more time. Rabbi, awzi'ni an ashkura ni'mataka allati an'amta alayya wa ala waliday, wa an a'mala salihan tardahu, wa adkhilni bi rahmatik fi ibadika as-salihin. Fi ibadika as-salihin. Oh my Lord, inspire me with the ability to be grateful to you for the blessings that you have bestowed upon me and upon my parents, and to do righteous deeds that you will be pleased with, and to enter me amongst the ranks of your righteous servants. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.